We did a little side hike here off the main trail to a mesa. It's really beautiful. And now we're going back on the mesa, and it comes together here. It's a little bit of a narrow trail, which is pretty neat.
Run.
Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to know, what kind of YouTube content do you make?
Well, I have to check out my channel.
I will. I look forward to having service.
This is Cottonwood Creek, so we're close to our camping destination, and we are seeing water, which makes us all feel pretty good. And this is the group.
I wasn't sure if it was like an option on the I guess so.
They just help like me with like the headaches and the dehydration. You know, it's like a constant. I don't know.
Ooh, grapefruit. I like it.
Yeah, yummy.
Are able to fly lower, and they're supposed to stay above the
Cough drops, you know?
Okay, we're on our move going up out at Cottonwood Creek on day 3 of the Leave No Trace course, or day 5.
and then resume later if we want. So if we're starting to feel chilly or anything like that and want to get moving again, just let me know, and we'll just do that.
You can come closer.
To the edge.
You're making all of us nervous. Maybe just
I should go stand there, where they'll definitely crumble underneath me. So I feel like a lot of times when people come to Grand Canyon, like it's pretty apparent that geology is like what's on display. It's a big reason that we are a national park, and why this place was set aside by the federal government as first a national monument and then later created into a national park. As you were kind of talking earlier, this is like a textbook of geology here. But for me, when I'm talking to people sometimes, even though like geology is like the really apparent thing on display, here it's not always the exciting thing that people want to talk about. So, you know, it can be kind of a dry subject for a lot of people, including people I've worked with in the past. So, a couple of years back, I was hanging out behind the Phantom Ranch Ranger Station on the porch with a couple of my coworkers down there. And one of my coworkers who also gives like educational talks down at Phantom was talking about how much she was struggling to come up with like interpretive programs on geology, and just like, you know, it's something we do get asked about a lot, so it's good for anyone who works at Grand Canyon to know the basics of geology here. But it isn't necessarily exciting for every ranger either, and she was having a hard time kind of taking it out of the textbook into making it kind of an exciting thing. And through that, we were talking about like the really common geology questions that we get. And one of the really common ones that we get as rangers here is, what is your favorite rock layer at Grand Canyon? And that led into this really kind of fun conversation of like kind of the pros and cons of each rock layer, which I'm sure you are all experiencing that right now a little bit too.
It's great.
Because, you know, not only is geology like important for understanding the earth and like seeing it on display here as a natural wonder, but geology really informs our experience here at Grand Canyon and drives the way that we interact with this place. As Michelle mentioned earlier, like the red wall limestone, this really, really steep kind of cliffy rock layer that we have around us here, is often the determining factor to where trails exist in Grand Canyon, because it's so steep and strenuous and tough and often impossible to get through. So where we find what we call breaks, so breaks in the red wall where there is a spot that you can navigate through it, is really, really critical to navigating up and down through Grand Canyon. So we were having this conversation about what is your favorite rock layer, and it inspired Kaylee and I to go out and interview some of our coworkers at Grand Canyon about what is your favorite rock layer here. So I'm going to play a little bit of audio of some of those interviews that I had with people. And as we go through that, I'll also talk about like the basics of Grand Canyon geology. So how can we really understand this place and how it came to be as well. So one way to understand geology here is through the acronym DUDE, D-U-D-E. A really common way that we teach it, D-U-D-E, DUDE. The first letter in DUDE stands for depositional environment. So it's what was happening in the environment at the time that those rocks themselves were being formed and created. So one example would be the bright and kind of reduce some of the gastrointestinal problems.
While we're in Grand Canyon National Park, and we're participating in a Leave No Trace
And partly
course.
calories and all that.
And look at all this waste that's been left here from decades ago. But it's kind of sad, and it's a good thing that we are teaching Leave No Trace
Maybe, yeah.
and furthering the mission of trying to protect our wild places.
That's the thing, right? Yeah. And that drinking water, like if you pass through it, it's one of the few reliable, one of the reliable creeks in that area. But we tell people not to drink the water because it has detectable amounts of uranium in it.
Super drag too. It's such a beautiful spot. You know, water's really flowing there.
Good morning. This is the last morning of the course and the backpacking trip into the Grand Canyon. And the sun is just coming up. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day to walk out of the canyon. Well, we're headed back up to the top, and this is an incredible view of the canyon from here. And this is the last day of the Leave No Trace course.